family blindly adopts a new dog, but when vet sees it he calls the police. The Smith family had been talking about getting a new dog for months. After their beloved golden retriever, Charlie, passed away, the house felt empty without a furry companion. The Smiths searched online and in local shelters for the perfect dog to fill the void. They wanted a dog that was friendly, playful, and good with children. One sunny afternoon, they decided to visit the local animal shelter. As they walked through the shelter, they saw many dogs that they loved, but one in particular caught their eye. A small black and white terrier with big, soulful eyes and a wagging tail. The dog, named Buddy, was curled up in the corner of his kennel, looking up at the family with hopeful eyes. The Smiths approached the kennel, and Buddy immediately jumped up and licked their hands. The family knew that Buddy was the one. They eagerly signed the adoption papers and took Buddy home that day. As they drove home, the Smiths talked about how lucky they were to have found such a great dog. Buddy was affectionate and playful, and he seemed to have a natural connection with the family. They decided to rename him Lucky, because they felt fortunate to have found him. When they arrived home, Lucky eagerly explored his new surroundings. He ran around the yard, chased after sticks, and rolled around in the grass. The Smiths watched with joy as their new furry friend settled into his new home. Over the next few days, Lucky continued to amaze the family with his friendly and playful demeanor. He would follow the children around the house, wagging his tail and waiting for a chance to play. The family was thrilled to have found such a great companion, and they felt like their family was complete once again. But little did they know, their happiness was about to be short-lived. Something strange was going on with Lucky, and it wasn't long before they noticed that there was something seriously wrong with him. They couldn't put their finger on what it was, but they knew they had to take him to the vet to make sure he was okay. Hey there, Viral Videos here. Before we go on like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. As they prepared to take Lucky to the vet, the Smith family couldn't help but feel nervous about what they might find out. They had become so attached to Lucky in such a short amount of time, and the thought of something being wrong with him was almost too much to bear. Little did they know, their visit to the vet would reveal a shocking truth about their new furry friend. The Smith family was nervous as they arrived at the vet's office. Lucky had seemed perfectly healthy, but there was something about his behavior that just didn't seem right. They hoped that the vet would be able to give them some answers. As they entered the waiting room, Lucky wagged his tail excitedly, seemingly unaware of the fear and uncertainty his new family was feeling. The Smiths took a seat and tried to calm their nerves, but their minds raced with worry. Finally, it was their turn to see the vet. The doctor examined Lucky carefully, checking his eyes, ears, and coat. Lucky seemed to be in good health, but the doctor's expression suddenly changed as he looked more closely at the dog. "Where did you get this dog?" the vet asked, his tone serious. The Smiths explained that they had adopted Lucky from the local animal shelter just a few days ago. The vet's expression grew even more serious. "I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but Lucky is actually a rare and valuable breed of dog. He was stolen from a breeder a few weeks ago, and we have been on the lookout for him ever since." The Smiths were stunned. They had no idea that they had adopted a stolen dog. They had blindly fallen in love with Lucky and had no idea about his true origins. The vet explained that he needed to call the police to report the theft and that Lucky would need to be returned to his rightful owner. The Smiths were devastated. They had grown attached to Lucky and couldn't imagine having to give him up. As they waited for the police to arrive, the family tried to come to terms with the situation. They couldn't believe that they had unknowingly adopted a stolen dog. They felt guilty for unintentionally taking part in the theft and didn't know what to do. But as they waited, Lucky seemed to sense their distress. He nuzzled up to them, wagging his tail and offering comfort. The Smiths realized that even though they would have to give up Lucky, they had still given him a few days of love and happiness that he wouldn't have had otherwise. Eventually, the police arrived and took Lucky into their custody. The Smiths were heartbroken as they watched him leave with the officers, but they knew that they had done the right thing by reporting the situation. As they left the vet's office, the Smiths felt a mix of emotions. They were sad to have lost Lucky, but they also felt a sense of relief that they had done the right thing. They knew that they would never forget the little black and white terrier who had briefly been a part of their family. After Lucky was taken by the police, the Smiths were left feeling empty and confused. They had no idea how a stolen dog ended up in their local animal shelter, and they wanted answers. The police assured them that they would investigate the situation and keep them updated on any developments. The Smiths tried to go about their daily lives, but their thoughts kept returning to Lucky and the circumstances surrounding his adoption. A few days later, the police contacted the Smiths with an update on the investigation. They had traced Lucky's path from the breeder to the animal shelter and had discovered that the thief had sold him to a middleman, who had then sold him to the shelter. The middleman had been arrested and had confessed to his role in the theft. He told the police that he had no idea that Lucky was a valuable breed and had simply purchased him from the thief in order to make a quick profit. The thief, however, was still at large. The police were following leads and trying to track him down, but so far, he had managed to evade capture. The Smiths were shocked to learn the extent of the theft and felt a mix of emotions. They were angry that someone had stolen a dog and sold him for profit, but they also felt grateful that the investigation was ongoing and that the thief was being pursued. As the days passed, the police made progress in the investigation. They were able to identify the thief and locate his whereabouts. They eventually arrested him and charged him with theft and animal cruelty, as it was discovered that he had mistreated Lucky during his captivity. The Smiths were relieved to hear that the thief was finally in custody and that he would be held accountable for his actions. They felt a sense of justice for Lucky and were grateful for the hard work of the police and investigators. As the investigation came to a close, the Smiths were left with a sense of closure. They had gone through a difficult experience, but they had also played a small part in helping to bring a thief to justice. Although they would never forget Lucky and the brief time they spent with him, they knew that they had done the right thing by reporting the theft and cooperating with the police. They hoped that their actions would encourage others to do the same and help to prevent future incidents of animal theft and mistreatment. After the thief was arrested and charged, the Smiths were left wondering what would happen to Lucky. They had grown attached to him during the short time he had spent with them, but they knew that he was still considered stolen property and that the legal system would have to determine his fate. A few weeks passed before the Smiths received an unexpected call from the animal shelter. The woman on the other end of the line informed them that Lucky was no longer considered evidence and was ready to be returned to his rightful owner. The Smiths were overjoyed at the news and quickly made arrangements to pick up Lucky from the shelter. As they drove to the shelter, they felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. They wondered how Lucky would react to seeing them again and whether he would remember them. When they arrived at the shelter, they were met by a group of shelter workers who led them to Lucky's kennel. As they approached, they saw Lucky lying down, wagging his tail in excitement. When he saw the Smiths, he jumped up and began barking and wagging his tail even harder. The Smiths knelt down and opened the kennel door, and Lucky ran out and jumped into their arms, licking their faces and wagging his tail furiously. The Smiths were overwhelmed with emotion and tears streamed down their faces. They hugged Lucky tightly and promised to never let him go again. As they drove home with Lucky, they talked about how grateful they were to have him back and how they would never take him for granted again. They knew that they had been lucky to have been able to adopt him in the first place, and they were grateful for the role they had played in helping to bring the thief to justice. When they arrived home, Lucky ran around the house, excited to be back in familiar surroundings. He jumped on the couch and snuggled up to the Smiths, happy to be back in their arms. The Smiths knew that their family was now complete with Lucky back in their lives. They had gone through a difficult experience, but they had come out of it stronger and more grateful for the love and companionship of their furry friend. As they settled into their new normal, the Smiths felt a sense of peace and contentment. They knew that Lucky was where he belonged and that they had made the right decision in adopting him, despite the unexpected challenges that had come with it. They hoped that their story would inspire others to adopt rescue dogs and to never give up on the love and companionship that they bring. And as they looked at Lucky, happily curled up on the couch, they knew that they had made the right decision in blindly adopting him and giving him the loving home that he deserved. What did you think of this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video and subscribe. See you next time.